My name is Marcus Taylor, and I worked on Project Nexus, a classified government operation where our goal is to figure out time travel. Instead, we figured out how to travel into a parallel universe, and I was trapped in this parallel universe for about a month. The shadow government captured me and two of my colleagues, Olivia and Emery, but David, Sophia, and Ethan are either missing or dead. The government had captured and kept us in an undisclosed bunker, somewhere in Florida, I presume. I don't know how or why this happened, but an eye materialized in my cell. A portal grew out of its pupil, and I walked into it. Now, I am trapped in a foreign land where civilization doesn't exist. Welcome to this Lost Tapes episode, an optional prelude for Naz'ri-Dyn. In this episode, we explore the mysterious disappearance and listen to the lost tape of Marcus Taylor. He was captured by government agents on June 29, 2029, and held in captivity for 27 days before he stepped into the portal. Project Nexus, in its goal to traverse through time, had exposed this particular universe to a cosmic god named Naz'ri-Dyn, an entity which had presented itself as a massive eye to one of the scientists who worked on Project Nexus. And accompanying this cosmic god were its smaller counterparts, eyes no larger than a basketball, leaving behind a portal to unknown dimensions in its wake, and cobalt creatures resembling wolves which fed on those eyes. I passed through the portal and stepped into a lavender forest. I heard Olivia talk about this place, but she didn't go into too much detail. She mentioned something about seeing it in a dream. But here I was now. There were eyeballs materializing from nothing, and they were everywhere. They're wandering about, looking at trees and bushes and just random things. I don't know what to do. The air is cool and gentle, and there's a glimmering ocean to my left. The trees are tall, and the night sky is illuminated by a swath of galaxies, stars, and twinkling comets. I feel a sense of wonder standing here, and then an eyeball blinked open in front of me. It gawked at me, and I stared at it. I waited, if only to see if it would do anything, but it just floated there, studying, observing. I waved at it, and then it blinked shut. Then another eye blinked shut, and then they were all gone. I didn't even see it from before, but a massive eye blocked out the moonlight. I gazed at it, and it gazed at me. I think these smaller eyes, they're afraid of it. Is this Naz'ri-Dyn? Government officials panicked once they realized that Marcus had stepped through a portal, and in his place was a burly man who resembled Marcus, but not quite. The man seemed homely in nature and had thick, long hair. When spoken to, he couldn't speak, well, not a language they could comprehend. The Marcus in which they stared at seemed to resemble a castaway lost at sea. His hair was ragged, his face was unclean. The government realized then that these portals did not transport people back to their universe of origin. They placed people in random universes spread across the multiverse. Immediately, they issued a statement declaring that no one should walk through a portal. I stood there, looking at the eye. Its eyelid was the night sky, as though the eyeball itself was tucked behind the void of space. I know I'm not explaining this very well, but the eye appeared from nowhere, and then it blinked shut. I closed my eyes and then opened them again. It's as if the eye never existed, and there was nothing in between me and the cosmic tapestry of the sky. Smaller eyes blinked open. I watched them. I assume the massive eye is Naz'ri-Dyn, and these smaller eyes, I don't know what they're on about. I walked through the lavender field and felt the tips of flowers against my hands. The air here was calm, and the ocean lapped against the sand. I approached the edge of the beach, and each grain of sand glimmered as though it were made of glass. The beach itself was the shade of plum, a deep rich purple, and the water, once it lapped against the shore, left behind a soft purple glow. I think it's bioluminescent. A few eyes blinked open and they studied me, watching me. Maybe this is their nature, to watch, to observe. I turned around and saw one of those cobalt creatures I've heard about, a wolf-like animal with cobalt fur and jet-black eyes. It slunk out of the forest, no longer afraid because Naz'ri-Dyn had hidden itself. Low to the ground and skulking, it focused on an eye, and suddenly, in mid-air, it froze in place. Naz'ri-Dyn returned, and it glared at the cobalt wolf floating 2 feet above the ground. Once the government had issued its statement declaring these portals led to random locations, and the eyeballs themselves were not hostile creatures and should be left alone, the public responded in typical fashion. Once, regarding the eyes as something to be feared became something to be attacked. Though the eyes did not appear on cameras or any recording device, individuals took it upon themselves to swing at these eyes with baseball bats, crowbars, any weapon they could find, while others chose to shoot them. The eyes, once they had been slain, were visible on camera. Scientists couldn't explain why this was the case, but once it had become apparent that these eyes could be killed and then photographed, people across the world began snapping photos with these bulbous eyes. Many alike, celebrities and common people, took their photos and shared them on social media. I cannot explain what I saw. There's something inside Naz'ri-Dyn, and it pulverized that wolf thing. Frozen in time, kept it frozen, and now there's a building-sized crater in the location where that cobalt wolf was. Now, I think these eyes blink shut to protect themselves, not because they're afraid of Naz'ri-Dyn, but because they don't want to get hurt from its collateral damage. I stood up and sprinted for the forest, making sure to pass around each eye and not to hurt it. I glanced over my shoulder and saw Naz'ri-Dyn, staring, watching. Not once did it blink as I traversed into the forest, and nor did it remove its gaze. It shifted from the horizon to over my head, and no matter where I went, it watched me. More eyes, but smaller, blinked open, and they studied me. I stood still and let them do their thing. As the punch the eye craze swept across the United States, a government official released a statement. It read, "We strongly advise against the brutality of these interdimensional eyeballs. We do not know where they come from or what their intentions are, and as such, it is not wise to hunt these creatures and then display them on social media. Not a single person has been injured by any of these eyes, and as far as we can tell, they are harmless. So why go out and hunt them? Please leave them alone." Of course, no one listened, and no sooner, all of the eyes blinked out of existence, and the cobalt wolf-like creatures never returned. With the exception of Sophia Meets, the 6 astrophysicists who traveled into a parallel universe had been accounted for, but Marcus still remained, trapped in the Lavender void. More eyes came. A lot more. Tons of them, of all sizes. Basketball size, the size of a baseball, some were as small as a marble. I don't know where they're coming from, but they blink into existence, and this has made it hard to explore this world. I look around and take in all I can see. There's a mountain range far in the distance. There's this forest right beside me, and this beach behind me. I looked down the lavender field and studied it, and then I closed my eyes. I don't know what to do or even say. I obviously can't live here. A few eyes blinked open in front of me, and then they studied me. I think I saw something flitter inside their pupils, but I'm not sure. I looked up, and above me was Naz'ri-Dyn. I don't know what it wants. I looked at it and I pleaded, Naz'ri-Dyn. I don't know if that's what you call yourself, but that's what we call you. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to be a threat. I beg that you take pity on me and return me to my home. I saw how you protected your kin. Please spare me and send me back home, please. Naz'ri-Dyn shifted across the sky until half of its pupil rested at the edge of the horizon. I sat there, looking at it, and then red eyes blinked into existence. They looked injured, maybe infected. Some arrived and gawked for a few seconds before falling to the ground and rolling lifeless across the grass. Naz'ri-Dyn took notice, and its pupil dilated. Naz'ri-Dyn. I tried to focus on each eye that fell lifeless to the ground. I know what happened. Naz'ri-Dyn knows what happened. It was then I noticed that the leaves no longer fell, the eyes no longer blinked, and clouds above no longer passed. The water was still, frozen in time. And this world was silent. I stood up as Naz'ri-Dyn blinked shut, and once it opened again, a vast portal swirled into existence. The portal reached higher than any skyscraper I've ever seen and stretched farther than a mile in each direction. I could hardly see the edge of it all. I stepped on the purple water, and it was hard as stone. I walked and walked until I reached the edge of this realm. Naz'ri-Dyn sat only feet in front of me. A pupil larger than a skyscraper was all I could see, and deep within it, I saw something skittering about. I don't know what it is, but I don't think Naz'ri-Dyn, this cosmic god, is the eyeball. I think it's the thing I saw in the eye. I said, thank you. I stepped through the portal and arrived in my backyard. I've been back for 2 days. I returned to the Nexus project, and I've learned that no one else has come back. No one. Not David, not Sophia, not Ethan. No one. I'm recording this because I don't know what to do. I know Naz'ri-Dyn is not going to be happy when it discovers that those people on that planet and that universe are hurting its kind.